Welcome to season two of Life Change Transformation. It's going to be episode number 7, and it's going to be the Christmas season. So we're going to talk a bit about reviewing the year. I know we brought this up in the past, but we're going to do it again because it's worth doing every year. And as always, I'm here with Maeve Langford, the transformational life coach out of Ireland, and she's blazing that trail. She's making an impact on people's lives and really helping people see a way that they can live a life that they absolutely love. My name is Gary Benoit. I'm an author and retired police officer after 25 years of service with Edmonton. And I have a book out there called The Call for Service. And I do this with Maeve every couple of weeks. And it's really such a privilege to be here with her. We had some time to spend together last week at an event in Canada, which is so cool. And so we've been scheming an idea to have something happen in Ireland as well for you guys. So keep your ears tuned to that. So welcome, Maeve, and like I say, welcome to the audience. Yeah,
Yeah, so
year in
week before
review.
Christmas.
Yeah,
Yeah, week before Christmas. And again, for many of you listening today, it's going to feel busy, probably, in that there's a lot going on. But we really want to encourage you to think about making some time, and even just if you're listening to this, mentally to do this while we're together on the call and the podcast, to just think about um what we're going to start with the successes, right? We're going to look at 3 different ways you
hmm
can end really strong this year. So the first idea is to just really celebrate what went well for you in 2024, and what were some of the highlights, what were some of the, even if they felt like small wins, but you cherish them on some level. They were important or significant in some way. And, to acknowledge, I suppose, as a culture, and I think it's the same in Canada and Ireland, Gary, maybe different in other parts of the world, but the culture I would say that we live in is like you celebrate the big events, the
absolutely.
crescendo moments, as I
Yeah,
call them sometimes, like the wedding or the new house, or the child being born, or maybe a graduation or the new job.
yep,
But what I suppose we're talking about here in our work together on the podcast is about celebrating all the little steps, because you
absolutely,
never have a crescendo moment if you don't have those kind of small steps that take you there. So
for sure.
what would you say to people to find some of their wins for the
Yeah,
year?
and
How would
you're
you go
right.
about
We're the
that?
same way. Like we celebrate the big ones, right? It's easy to know the big ones because they stand out in our mind,
Yeah,
and really, like it's you really have to. Our memory is a funny thing. Memory is a funny thing. we,
totally.
right?
Yeah.
Like we will remember everything we didn't do, every goal that we didn't hit. It'll be right
Yes.
forefront of our, for some reason. I can't explain it. I'm not a neurologist. I don't understand how that works, but I do know is that in our work is we're trying to like, yes, we maybe didn't hit some things, but we hit a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's about going back and really taking time to evaluate. Like maybe you have a calendar written down all the stuff you've done, and or maybe you've got a some sort of way to track the things you've done throughout the year. You start making a list and just make a list of things that you can remember that you've done that surprised you, that was happy, that maybe it was I got to walk every day, every 3 or 4 days a week, or I got a new dog, or I got a chance to go on date night with my spouse for every month, once a month for the last 12, we forget about those little ones that we talked about. We try to plan. And
Absolutely.
for me, it's a reflection time. Like, we're no different when it comes to being busy and stuff. Like we were talking before the call, and like I'll just share with people that I'm not perfect at this, of course. Like we talk about this and we're living life like everybody else is here. We're the same as you guys, exactly. Like we just have a few more tools that we have in our tool belt that gives us the advantage over some of our goals, right? Trying to get to the life we love. But I overscheduled December. We did. We looked at a schedule at December, and like it's packed and it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And so when I look at that, and when we committed to some of these things in a few months ago, in my mind, it didn't seem like a big deal. But now that we're coming into this season, and I know the way I like to be, I like to handle this. I like to take time in this season to really look back at my year and really take stock of every month and try to like break it down month by month. Um, I just want, the time's short, and I'll be able to do that later on in the month, but I would prefer to do it as I go through the month. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to bring you back to successes, Gary, and we're going to look at some of the things we want to do differently in a
Yes.
minute as well. But for looking at the successes, and we did some of this at our event, right?
Hmm.
So what do you think can help people to remember the successes, right? So you gave us some lovely examples of, maybe date nights or getting fit and healthy or, some follow through on some projects or whatever. I mean, I know for me, like, I use a
Yep.
success jar. I
I
think
got the
you
same
do.
thing. Yep.
Yeah, my clients listening, you guys definitely are well versed in success jars. So that can be a way if you've had a habit of tracking your successes all year, just take
Sure.
take them all out and read them again. Or I think, sometimes to look at our photo reels for the
Oh,
year or
yeah.
to
Like,
look at
your
your diary.
Facebook posts, Instagram posts, those things are
There you
great,
go.
right?
Yeah, so I would say for all of you listening to, set some time if it's tonight when you're listening to the call or, over the weekend, over the holidays, just give yourself those 5 minutes. And that's all it needs to be, right? We don't want to create work or hassle at the moment, but
No.
just even 5 minutes to look at, I did that and I did that. And what you focus on expands, right? And the minute you start looking for those mini successes, you'll see
Yes.
plenty of them for
Absolutely.
sure.
And if you go through your phone, like even you talk about photo reels, right? If you go through your phone and you look at the photos you've taken throughout the year, chances are some of those are going to capture the little wins that you're not able to
Exactly.
remember, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because you're going to
And
capture that
then,
along the way, right? As you go along, this is, it's that moment, right?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And then I think what's important, not just to have a list and kind of say, okay, well done me, but to actually schedule some way of celebrating all of that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
So, is there any other techniques that you use besides that?
Um, Yeah, just my diary as well. I
Hmm.
just go back through the diary. I like my whole life is captured in the diary. So,
Fair.
and I'm one of those people who has holidays and everything is scheduled, so it's all visible. So yeah, and many times even, I do this kind of review every month as well as part of my own practice, just looking at the month just gone. And like so many times you've forgotten that, oh yeah, that was just this month. You think it was ages ago,
Mm.
but no, it's just been in a few weeks. So definitely our memories are funny
They
things,
are so
right?
funny. Like,
So
I remember looking back and we did this exercise a few weeks ago, and I sat down and I was writing out one of the goals for me was to have a little more travel and work, right? Travel and work at the same time last year. And
that's right, I remember that.
right, it was one of my goals, and I achieved that in like tenfold. It was amazing. And I was writing down the list of places I've been, and I forgot that there were certain places that I had been this year that I thought was last year.
Yeah, yeah,
Like literally, I thought it was a couple years ago. Oh no, no. And I'm like, oh wait a second, that was this year,
yeah.
right? And so I'm like, oh, okay. So you add that. You forget. And I don't know why I would have forgotten those things, but I did, and it's
Mm,
interesting to me. It's
it
interesting
really
how
is.
we do that.
Yeah. And again, I don't know why either. I do know we all are the way our brains are wired. We have a tendency to look for the problems. So that's why we'll always notice the problems, right? And we'll all, like you said at the start, we'll always notice the things that weren't done
Mhm.
because we're kind of hardwired for that. So I think the learning and what we're trying to reinforce here in the podcast generally is like you have to consciously seek for and celebrate the
For
successes
sure.
because that won't happen by accident.
Yeah. I think you
And
ask
I'd love
yourself,
to take,
sorry, just I
say
think you
again.
ask yourself the question too. What would you love more of too, right? In that year, as you're reviewing the year,
Yeah,
what would I
yeah,
love more of next year than I love this year, right? What do I love more of, right?
exactly. Yeah,
That's a great question to
yeah,
ask when you're reviewing your stuff, I think.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then, as part when those kind of positive, feelings, gosh, like you said, I did so much this year, and I'm so proud of that. When we notice those kind of positive feelings coming up, so that's part of the celebration piece, right? Is to allow that, feeling of pride, success, confidence, and just happiness for
Hmm.
all that's been done.
Hmm.
So wanting to encourage people to do this little practice called tapping in the positive, right? So like we were saying, the brain will automatically see and notice and keep a list of the things that go wrong. But when we hold and tap in these positive emotions that come up in us, it kind of sends a feeling through the whole nervous system, and it starts to pattern into the nervous system what happiness feels like, and
Hmm.
we then have an imprint of that, and as we tap it kind of signals to the brain to look for more of that, and to capture what that feels like. So for if you can see us on the if you're listening and you can see us on the podcast, great. But the third eye is that kind of point between the two eyes,
Hmm.
over the nose, kind of in the middle of the forehead, and you're just tapping there. And we only have to tap for like 5 to 10 seconds with the middle finger of either hand. It doesn't really matter.
Hmm.
And as I said, it just sends that wave of good feeling. So you want it's going to tap in whatever you're thinking about, right? So be
Awesome.
sure you've kind of captured the success and the joy, and then tap that in. And that can be a practice like over the holidays. If you're listening now and you just get that idea in, like when you're with family and you're enjoying it, or when you're, I don't know, having a moment of solitude and you're enjoying it, or you're out for a walk on Stephen's Day or Boxing
Hmm.
Day, as you guys call it, I think in Canada. Just tap it in, and it just starts to imprint those good moments so that they're more available to us
Mm.
when we need to remember them,
That's
or
awesome.
we want to generate those feelings again.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's ultimately Christmas. The Christmas season can mean many things to many people.
Yeah.
Um, and like I say, it's a great time to take that time to really reinforce all the positive that has happened in and be proud of what the years looked like. Um,
Yes.
you know, uh, Regardless of how many things you achieved, regardless of where you had, the list of things you wanted to do versus the listings you didn't do, whatever that looks like, everything you've done, be proud of that year. Because ultimately, if you hadn't strived or leaned in to what
Stepped
you
up.
wanted, right, stepped up and done the things, you wouldn't have done the things you did.
No, it
Right.
doesn't
And
happen by accident.
right. And so,
Absolutely
and it's
not.
so I just want you to feel, I want you as the audience, I want you to really look back and feel proud of the year you've had. You've had I've had an amazing year. I know Maeve's had an amazing year. We continue to work forward to have these really great experiences in life. And if you've taken a listen throughout the year and you've followed us along as we've grown in this podcast, really, hopefully some of the tools we gave you would help you achieve some of the things, or at least give you some different successes in your life as you go through, and know that it's all possible again next year, if not even more, right? It's this or something even greater still. And I just think that it's a great time of year to do that, because there's a lot of family time, right? Or visiting, or lots of times there's time off of work. If you're working a standard job, you'll get a Christmas break in a
Some
way, or
leave.
some
Yeah.
leave, right? In that way. Um, and those times are really, really great times to really take stock of one, who's around you, like your family and all that, your vibrant health, the friendships in your life, the relationships that you've developed over the years, or over this last year. Maybe they're new relationships and you're developing that. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
whatever that looks like for you guys, we don't know your individual circumstances, but whatever that is for you, maybe it's your health and wellness, and you've done some really cool things this year, and you've taking those action steps and been at the gym, you know, two, three
Yeah.
times a week, and just doing that repetition, creating that habit. I think it's really, really cool. Um, you know, and Christmas, of course, being Jesus's birthday and all the things that are around the spiritual, religious side of things, whatever it can be, as many people out there listening, we're not, I don't, I'm not arguing for one or the other, but like, I just think it's a great time to reflect on how
Yeah.
that's come about, and the whole idea of just being a great group of people on a planet, right? We're trying to make the planet better if we can, I guess, in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think, Gary, you've always been a great exponent of gratitude,
Hmm.
and I think Christmas can really be a time for expressing thanks for, acknowledging people, whether that's with a gift or a card or just a thank you when you see them. But it's
Hmm.
it's it's there's a cadence, I suppose, at the end of a year to wrap it up and say your thanks and express gratitude for the people in our lives. And sometimes that comes easily and sometimes it doesn't, but what's important is the willingness to find
Yeah.
something to be grateful for and to put it out there. Yeah.
I think there's like a piece of that too where we want to finish the year strong just because there's still 2 weeks left in this particular year, right? So you don't want to mail it in, right? You don't want to like
Yeah.
you don't want to stop doing all the things that have made you successful. You still want to continue to do the little habits and stuff and just, but just take some additional time to either rest and reflect or whatever that looks like. Because we can't, I mean, I've done that in the past too. I've had habits of coming into December and like December 5 or 10th hits, and I'm like, that's it. The year's over. And
I'm
I
done.
just, yeah, I'm done for the year. And I kind of mailed in the rest of the year. Right. And I just think that that's just, I look back on that. That was just such a mistake on my part for me. It was such a miss, right? A miss on my part for the whole idea of like, creating that additional momentum going into
Exactly.
2025, right? 'Cause 2025 is literally around the
Yeah.
corner.
Yeah. So celebrating the successes, finding the gratitudes, and then I suppose the other thing that we would talk to and about is take the feedback, right?
Mm.
So some of it is about the feedback around the successes themselves, like what caused you to have those successes. I know for me, this year I got way more practiced and diligent about doing my morning practice, which, again, we've shared this here before, I'm sure, but every morning tuning to my vision, tuning to gratitude, and, thinking, okay, how am I going to show up today? Who am I being?
Mhm.
And what's my step to take today? And I dialed that one in this year, and I know it contributed to the success. So for each of you listening, just thinking about with the successes, what has been helping me
Mhm.
to do those things, to be more consistent or persistent, or to have better follow through, or whatever it is. So, maybe there was a mindset shift, maybe there's a behavior shift, maybe there's an insight of some sort. And I would say you want to really capture that because you want to be able to use it again in
For sure.
2025. And then, of course, there's going to be some feedback around things that were challenging.
Mhm.
So you were saying you've overscheduled December this
Hmm.
year.
I sure did.
So what's the feedback on that one,
It
Gary?
doesn't it doesn't feel good. I can tell you that right now. I don't, you're right. It doesn't feel expansive. It feels a little bit tight, a little contractive.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of like pressure feeling, that idea of like, oh my goodness, there's so much to do, and it feels like there's just not enough wiggle room in this moment, right? And that it's great awareness, right? To have the ability to be aware of it and feel it and know next year will not be like this. We committed to these certain things and we're going to do them because we've committed, because I believe very deeply in, if you've committed or said you're going to do something, then you follow through with that. I think it's an integrity piece for me. And I think it's a core value of mine that I believe
Sure.
that it's important. But I just know that the time of it, the timing of it, and the time compression that it feels like. I know time doesn't compress because it's all the same. I get 24 hours in a day, but it feels like I'm a little bit like constricted. And so because it doesn't feel good, I
Yeah.
would like do that differently next year.
Yeah.
And I've already taken a note of that for next year. Like I've made a note of it and I've written it down and
Yeah.
I've put it in a place where I can remember, okay, this is for next year this time. Because it's really about, sometimes there's certain things that we've done throughout the year that we would prefer not to have, right? We would love a
Yeah.
little bit less of certain
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And I think that's, it's not about not hitting your goals or that feeling that you haven't done something out the year. It's just that idea of just shifting it a little bit. So instead of it being like well, I didn't do anything this year, or I did had a bad year. It's not bad or good. The year is what it is. It's a very neutral thing. We decide to give it strength or power, right? We give it that power in that way,
Mhm.
right? We label it good or bad. So as soon as you take that piece of it out, don't charge it with anything. Just say, I would just love less of this
Yeah.
turmoil. I would love less of this disorganization. Or I would love less of whatever it was that sort of been nagging at you.
Yeah.
right? And I would love to do more of this on the flip side. I would love to have more whatever, or whatever that might
Yeah.
be, right?
And that, that could be more work or it could be more vacation,
For
right? I
sure.
mean, again, there's no right or wrong
No.
here. And for all of us, we'd experience the same things differently anyway. So it really is about that reflection piece for each of us
Yeah.
individually. Like what did I love, not love? What would I like to repeat or not
Right.
repeat?
Like there's certain
And
things like, sorry, go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, like, on the things that were challenging,
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want to just kind of say, yeah, that was tough,
Mm.
just I don't want to repeat it, move on. But to also kind of look for where was the silver lining in
Hmm.
all of that? That,
Yeah.
the phrase we use here a lot with quoting Napoleon Hill is that in every adversity, in every challenge, in every heartache, there's a seed of equal or greater benefit. But we have to
Absolutely.
look for that.
For
We
sure.
have to look for it. So what were
Absolutely.
what were the silver linings,
For
right? In
sure.
in the challenges, the setbacks, the disappointments, maybe, I don't know, maybe you became more patient or more tolerant or more resilient
Right.
or you had to learn how to do something because somebody let you down and they were going to do it but they didn't deliver. So you had to learn, I don't know,
Correct.
how to use
I mean,
technology or how
there's
to,
so
I
much
don't
to learn,
know.
like when it comes, even like even looking at the scheduling conflicts that we've, the schedule tight that we've done with we pack the schedule. I mean, the silver lining out of the whole thing is who we're going to be spending some time with, some of the events that we're going to be at. They're going to be amazing.
Exactly.
There's going to be, there's a lot of good that's going to come out of it.
Yeah.
And I know there is. It's just, understanding that, and it's like anything in life. Like, I mean, I can look back and I can reflect back on my time through policing and all this. I can look back and I can just kind of see all the tough times, all the like the worst.
Yeah.
I'm gonna air quote worst, right? The worst times or the most difficult times. I learned the most,
Yeah.
right? And so really there is definitely absolutely learning, and you can absolutely use it to your advantage. Um, like one of our goals was to grow our team, and we've been very diligent at focusing on growing our team. And for the first 3 quarters of the year, we didn't have any growth, none. But in the last quarter of the year, we tripled the size of our team,
Okay.
right? And so what I would love less of is I would love more consistent growth of the team and not that explosion, because part of the constriction is having some, we have a lot of people now to train and bring up to speed and right, all that stuff. So there's a thing there that I think, um, I would love to have more consistent over the, spread it out, right? But, I'd love to triple our size of our team again next year, right? That would be one of the goals
Yes.
that we would be looking to do, because I would love to have more of that, but I maybe love to do it more time efficient or spread out, or I'm not sure what the word
Yeah,
is.
that
I don't know
there'd
what the
be a
word is.
consistency. Yeah, no, I think consistency sounds right, that there'd be consistent
Yeah.
growth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that kind of
And
stuff, right? So like ultimately this is reflecting on, when you guys look back at your year, when you're listening and you're looking at what was amazing, about the year. I didn't love the first 3 quarters of the year when we were looking to grow our team. We had zero growth, right? It was like the number was zero. And so it's interesting how in my older days, in my days past, I would have looked at that and I would have considered the year to be a failure, right? Even though I tripled the team in the last quarter,
yeah,
I would have forgotten about that, and I would have looked back and said, "Well, I didn't do anything in the first 3 quarters of the year. What a waste of time." Right? That would
yeah,
have been my dominant thought pattern in the moment. But now
yes.
with some of the awareness work and some of the mindset stuff we do, and all this work that we put into place to transform our thoughts, transform our lives, I realized that was just what it was like when it was all working out, and I was getting prepared.
Yes.
Right?
And
Does that
s-
make sense?
and and
I was
stabilizing
correct.
yourself for that kind of growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Like I was preparing
Yeah.
ourselves to have that growth in the first 3 quarters of the year, and I wouldn't have handled it as well if I had
Yeah.
had it earlier. Does that make sense? Like I realize,
Absolutely.
right?
A
So
hundred
100%,
percent.
there's a lot of learning there. Right. And
Yeah.
so now we're in this place where we are now absolutely 100% ready to handle that type of growth. So it's kind of
Yes.
it's a great perspective, right?
Absolutely. And it absolutely means, Gary, you could, treble that again next
For
year
sure.
and you're ready for it and
Yeah.
able for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. So there's that opportunity, celebrate the successes, take the learning from the successes in terms of what helped to create them, looking at the negatives, or, again, everything is neutral, but if they felt contractive in some
Hmm.
way, what was the learning? And, adopting a kind of growth mindset, even
Hmm.
being willing to adopt that perspective, I would say is a win. Um, and then I suppose the thing, and I know this is airing on the 18th, right? But even at that, there's like the best part of 2 weeks before the
Hmm.
end of the year. So if you're listening on the 18th and there's something that you really wanted to get done in 2024 and it's not complete, maybe you didn't even start it, um, but you'd still love to make progress on it in 2024, this is my tying up of the loose ends. I would say even if it's just like send an email to somebody to say, this is still on my mind, I want to progress it, or if there is something practical you can do, like if it's in the home and it's decluttering, or, a little house project, maybe you can fit it in before the new year if you're on holidays and you've got the family on board. Maybe it's even just committing to a healthier practice, and you decide, even though it's Christmas, even though we're on holidays, I'm going to hydrate myself better over these couple of weeks, or I'm going to just make some healthy choices, at least one healthy choice a day, and you
Hmm.
just start to build it so that you finish this year more in alignment with who you want it to be, with
Yeah,
some of those
absolutely.
loose ends.
Yeah, I think that's great. Like I think, like I said, that's the idea of mailing it in, right? I literally would December would come around. I mean, if I wasn't, I wouldn't even look at what I had not done. I wouldn't even consider the idea. Well, I can still start that, even though that's not going to get done by the end of the year. At least I can at least do one thing to progress
Yeah,
that particular area.
yeah,
I wouldn't have even thought like that in the past. I would have just like, well, the year's over. I'm just going to ride it out
yeah,
and
yeah,
try again next year, right?
yeah, yeah,
But where could you be if you just did that one thing or two things in the next couple
yeah,
weeks? Where could you
yeah,
be even further next year as a result of that, right? Like it's utilizing the available time that we have
yeah,
as well. So that's really tying up the loose ends is great. That's a great concept. Love
yeah.
it.
And not everything is going to get done, right? So
No,
I
of course
the,
not.
the other things I would say around those loose ends is, um like, maybe it's still something that's really important to you, but it's definitely not going to be done by the end of December. Then I would like reschedule it for the new year, but
Hmm.
but actually give it a time and a place in your diary. And
Hmm.
if it involves other people, tell them that as well. Um if it's just something that it's been hanging around as a, I should do or I must do X or Y, and it's just not getting done, I would really kind of say have a moment with yourself. Sometimes in Ireland, Gary, we call this a come to Jesus moment.
Okay.
So, and it's where you're getting really honest with yourself, and like, is it really important to me? Like, do I
Yeah,
do I really care about this? And if I do, then it's a do it or a reschedule. And if I don't, just take it off the
for
list,
sure.
right? Because it's
Absolutely.
just it's just leaching energy that it's
Yes.
there. It's not getting done, but it's still on the list, and there's a weight kind of to it. So I would say, just, give yourself a break. Just say, what, I don't care. I'm not doing it. It's not important enough. And if it's kind of in between the two, I suppose it would be kind of saying, well, who could you delegate it to or
Hmm.
outsource it to?
Hmm.
And oftentimes I'm talking with people and they're saying to me, Maeve, like, I don't have a team. It's not either they're solopreneurs, or, they don't feel they have people around that they can just say, here you go. But I would say, like, really think about that one. 'Cause even if it's in the home, right? It might be that your kids, I know for me, every now and again, I'm like, my kids are 3 years older than they used to be. They can, now they're driving, right? So
Hmm.
some of
Hmm.
the tasks I would have done in the past, even Christmas shopping or whatever, they could do some of that, right? I
Hmm.
can
Hmm.
give them the same list I'd take, and off you go. Or,
Yeah.
if it's putting up the decorations, and
Yeah.
again, if you're listening and your kids are a lot younger, I mean, please hear this in the spirit. it's intended, like do what you can
Yeah,
within your
for sure.
circumstances.
Yeah.
But really, like thinking who, maybe there's outsourcing could be like to a dog walker or to, having a childminder come in, or you could hire a declutterer in the new year,
Hmm.
or like again, maybe you're outsourcing dinner, right? And you're just getting takeout
Fair.
for the night to take the pressure off. But again, for each of us, it'll look different, but really thinking about, can I do it? Can I delegate it? Or can I delete it? Those would be the
Mm-hmm.
3Ds, I would say, to just, move your relationship with that to-do list. And I think I mentioned this during the Sound episode that we did, Gary, around Halloween. But the Celts, with their new year was kind of that October, November
Hmm.
time,
Hmm.
but they called it a time of reckoning.
Hmm.
And I love this idea where, like, do I have outstanding debts any place? So whether that's a debt of gratitude or a financial debt or a commitment that's outstanding. And they used to say, like, this is the time to wrap it all up, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So again, Christmas, when if we think of debts of gratitude, or that, I don't like the idea of owing somebody, but if it was in your mind to repay somebody in
Hmm.
some way, or to
Hmm.
do a kindness for somebody in some way, I would say, like, it's a great time to do that, and
For sure.
let the Christmas, whether it's writing of a Christmas card or sending of a gift, or picking up the phone or whatever it is, like, to go with the spirit of the season, and to maybe do some of those things to repair relations, or make a new start, or, as I say, pay off a debt or whatever it might be, whether that's financial or otherwise, that it can be a really good thing to do
Hmm.
that this time of the year. And again, you're starting the new year with a much fresher energy and that kind of clean slate idea.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think that's great. As we wrap up here in the last few minutes, is there something you want to leave people with?
I think the big thing is the celebration piece. Like, harness the successes. Like, you earned them.
Hmm.
Any
Hmm.
win you or I have on our list, any win you have on your list as a listener or a success, like, you created that. They didn't happen by accident. So that's what I would say. Harness
Love it.
it, celebrate it, be proud, and carry it with you into the new year.
Yeah, for sure. Well said. I don't know if I can really top that. I think that's amazing. I love the celebration. Guys, as you're listening, guys, gals, as you're tuning in here, take a little time for yourself too for this season. Maybe have a sleep in, or maybe a nap on the couch. I don't know. Whatever kind of, or maybe it's a walk or some quiet time, whatever. Just take some time for yourselves and just really, breathe into who you've grown into this year. Breathe into all the great things that have happened, and just in your own being, and your own awareness, and if you've been following us and doing these things, and ultimately, guys, like, congratulations. We're so proud of you guys to do and be with us and continue to follow us, and get stuff out. We love pouring into you guys as much as we can. So, we love that you're here. We love that you continue to show up. We love the fact that my gratitude for you guys is so large. I can't even, there's no words. I can't put it into a big enough container for you. So thank you. As we leave this episode, I'm just gonna say that I know Maeve's got stuff coming up in the new year. She's gonna have a few events coming up. We'll make sure you're on top of that. We'll make sure, so if you want to know what's going on, she's got a website. I'm sure it's all in there. Make sure you guys check that out. Additionally, as the new year breaks here, I'm leaning into more speaking. So if you're out there and you're looking for someone to come and have a conversation with your work group, or a group of people that you hang around with, maybe it's a church group or something like that, I would love to be a part of that. Just, you can always reach out to me and we can figure something out. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. I love to travel. So if that's something that is calling to you, I would love to be a part of that with you guys as well. And yeah, I guess we'll just say we'll see you next year.
Absolutely. And I guess happy Christmas,
Yes, have a great
happy New
Christmas.
Year. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
have a great Christmas.
all that's best of the season,
Yeah,
whether you
for
celebrate
sure.
Christmas itself or not, really wishing that for you and
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I know.
Good
Like
for
I
you
say,
too, Gary.
yeah, same with
Yeah.
you. Like say the I'm just so excited to be a part of this, and I'm so excited to be here, and always with Maeve as because she's a superstar, and all this stuff really is. That star in the background, that's just her light just shining. It's
Oh,
amazing.
that's my Christmas
It's amazing.
decoration.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's so good. So she's a superstar. So it's great. Anyways, thanks guys. We'll see you guys
In a couple of
in a
weeks.
couple of weeks in the brand new year of 2025.
Brand new baby year.
I know.
Absolutely.
It's
See you
awesome.
then.
Bye.
Bye for now.